Okay, this one is Arthur's Q&A.
Hey guys, in this video we will be going through the NA Media Tour Day 1 live Q&A session. I had the privilege to finally attend a media tour and I thank Square Enix and the Final Fantasy XIV team for that. Yay, we did it! Woo! Not everyone who attended had a chance to get an exclusive interview with Yoshida-san himself, so they had a Q&A session at the end of the day for everyone else. Yoshida-san and the Final Fantasy XIV team seemed to pick out the question from the streamers camp this time, and I'm so happy they did. Because as far as I know, none of the content creators in day 1 got an exclusive interview with him. So at least we got something nice. I knew who asked some of these questions because we pre-planned our questions so we don't end up asking the same questions. Now without further ado, let's get into the few questions he picked and answered. Question number 1, which is asked by me. Are there any examples of improved reward as shown in previous PLL and also today's presentation? Is it more tombstone cap over 7.x patches? Is it more gear drops from 8-man or 24-man raids or existing contents?
So I'm assuming this is going to pretty much be the same as Happy's answer that he got back. They're just adding more that's gear related and they're not really defining it outside of that.
Or is it simply just more rewards, for example, cosmetic purposes, minion and mounts? For this question, he said that there's 2 parts he want to address. The first part is very straightforward and he wants to get this out of the way first. There will be no tombstone cap increase.
I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. I truly think this doesn't matter. And I'm sure he'll continue and explain it, but I really don't think this matters to increase the tombstone cap. I'm sorry. The people who raid week 1, you're not going to be impacted because of this that dramatically. I really don't. There are so many tricks that people do to give themselves more gear on week 1 now because of like the boxes and multiple alts, all this different kind of stuff. And that stuff comes into play when necessary. It makes it a lot more friendly for like alt jobs. It's so unfriendly alt jobs right now. And I don't know if they ever are going to address this. It's so frustrating.
Second part, he wants to improve the rewards on the current and even new contents like Criterion, where the biggest feedbacks are that the rewards are lacking and not what the players want. They didn't have resources back then to add more rewards in those content during that time, and players felt that those content were very unfulfilling. So this time, moving forward, they want to improve rewards on those newer contents, giving them more items. It doesn't just mean minions and mounts, etc. There will be gear, and they will incorporate more rewards into this content.
That's good.
They will also be releasing content that's different from current batch of content that we have. Rewards from this content will be more about filling in the gaps, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we will get max item level gears. These additional rewards will be mainly filling in the gap that will raise our average item level instead.
So the one problem when they do this, they always add it after the Savage patch. There's the Savage patch, huge item level boost. But then they do like 7.1 will have the raid tier. And they're all the raid tier, the Alliance raid tier is going to have all gear that's like not even close to the item level of, I mean, it's 10 item levels lower, right? But like it's not at the same item level. So are you going to add more of the same rewards that are just not of the same item level as Savage? Like, that's so useless. What? Unless at that point, it's just glamour. Obviously, like some people... Hold on. I'm going to say this. Some people that don't do Savage... Hey, you get an item level boost. But I don't feel like those people care in the first place. People want multiple options when it comes to, like... raid gear. There's people who want multiple options for like in general, or like even like small item level upgrades. Like I feel like giving like a 5 level item level upgrade after like in like the 7.1 or the point 0.1 patches or the 0.3 patches, 0.5 patches, like after the fact, like if it was like a accessory upgrade and it just gives a little bit of stat bonus, people would be like, oh yeah, I'll go for that. And it'd be so harmless, because at that point, if people are not clearing Savage by the time they could cap their tomestones every single week and get all their gear capped from tomestones, it's a skill issue of like not doing the mechanics. It's not a DPS issue. It's not going to unbalance the game.
He said that he will review more of such rewards in 7.1 onwards, because some of these rewards come from new contents that he said that is different from existing content. He also...
God, sorry. I feel like this is just so frustrating to hear, because it's like, I feel like they just keep trying to push three people item level wise through Savage. And also
say that rest assured, we will definitely be expected to see an increased number of gears as rewards. He looked right at me and say, is this answer okay? Did I answer your question? And I just gave him 2 thumbs up. Like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure he knew who are asking these questions. Question number 2, which is asked by Lamatot. I would like to know if there are plans to create a central party finder, since many raiders DC travel to Aether for NA if they want to find groups. We could even tie in the Oceanic region as well. This leaves players without access to FC buffs, mail, retainers, etc., while they are still trying to fill groups. Also, since we are getting many graphical and system updates in Dawntrail, are there plans for a modernized friend list similar to Blizzard's Battle.net or Steam Friends?
I want to say this. I don't think they should regionally make this happen, but I think this is a mandatory thing long term for the game. They need to figure out between Aether, Crystal, Primal, and Dynamis. I think for the health of the game, there is no way you can do this at this point if they're going to leave it where we can keep traveling between DCs. It is not healthy for everyone just always migrate to Aether. As a community, we always say, yeah, go to Aether. Go to Aether. If you want this, if you like, it's like we're shoving people into one fucking location, but there's 4 split up data centers that should be evenly spread.
Shida-san said that they already received massive requests about this and knew about this feedback for cross DC, which I think also includes cross region. They had discussion among themselves about this for a while. However, traveling between data center is physical, which I also assume that when he say this, he also mean that even for the same region data center, it is also physical. So there is a...
They need to just have a data center somehow linked to the instance servers, and all the instance servers gather at one location, and whatever server that like interacts with like the chat or the party finder specific like API calls, that is separate from like the DC itself. I don't know how that would work, but like I have an idea in my head, but like I don't know their architecture. I just, they need to have another data center that is specifically for instances. It's joint.
Special separate system that has to be implemented before they can allow PFing or DFing across the different data centers. If they have a system to allow this, it would actually solve a lot of problems that the players are currently facing.
Yeah.
It would also be nice to have a separate central data center to allow for all of these activities like PFing, DFing, etc. But to implement this system, it would take them about 2 to 3 years.
Holy, what the fuck? Is that because they don't have enough people to work on that? Holy shit. That's crazy.
He thinks that it is a lot of work at the moment and also will result in a lot of wait time. Therefore, right now, they are considering if there is any other innovative ways to allow for this system. Yoshi P also said that they can do it right now, but the team is more focused on spending those resources for developing 7.0 onward stuff. Once the 7.x series settles down, it will look more into this and solve this problem.
In my mind, I feel like that's a staff problem where like if the people that are working on that type of system interfere with the development of like the rest of the game, I feel like that's like you're almost like bending your developers around maybe too much, as opposed to keeping them more like laser focused on like particular tasks. that makes me think there's a lot people are like jumping around a lot more between different systems when it comes to like what's going on. I don't know, obviously, but that's what it leads me to believe is like people are like working on some of the systems that are related to like glamour are also working on like this DC travel stuff, like or like when I mean glamour I mean like the glamour dresser and stuff like that, not like glamour as the artwork. I don't think an artist is going to work on DC travel.
They are not trying to deflect this, but they are taking their time on this. Next, about the friend list. They know about the problems about the friend list, but blacklist was actually way more feedback to change from the community. Therefore, at the moment, they didn't do much for friend list first, but they are more focused on the blacklist first. Once the blacklist functionality and the improvements are all done, they will then address the friend list problems in the near future. Yoshi P also said that systems like Battle.net and Steam Friends are very, very good. However, it is a
dedicated team, big company, multiple projects. SE only has Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV. If the SE makes it, it's going to be a play online situation all over again, and people are going to hate it. You already hate the web pages that you have to interact with Final Fantasy XIV. You don't want to interact with a Final Fantasy or a Square Enix version of this. I understand the desire for it, but it ain't going to be good, and it's better the way it is. I'm sorry. Like, it sucks that, like, it's not at the same quality as Blizzard's, but it's never going to be. They have a dedicated Battle.net team and people developing and constantly going at it. I do not want a Square Enix launcher. I'm sorry.
A system that an entire company made for all of their games. Final Fantasy XIV is just a team and a single game compared to them, but this also shows how much Final Fantasy XIV can improve on and can learn from these bigger companies with bigger systems. Question number 3, which is asked by Zepla. In terms of new player experience, can we see more skills becoming available to players at low levels, as has been done in the past, to refresh that starting experience?
I hate when I get synced down to like Hawk Manor. Hawk Manor is like, it's so fucking frustrating. Or like going like to Tamtar Deepcroft or like doing Sistasha. Holy shit, it's frustrating. I hope they fix this.
Yoshida-san said that in Dawntrail, the level cap is raised to 100,
Yeah, no
so
AoEs.
they already had all the job skills and traits all set, and how to distribute them across all 100 levels. Therefore, they try to maintain the balance of the levels by making sure that these skills and traits are spread out properly. They do, however, not sure if they did enough for lower levels, if they are being very honest. If there's enough feedback about lower levels having the need to have more skills allocated in the official forums, for example, they will definitely look into it. Yoshida-san also thinks that it is always good to strike the balance because this is an RPG game. You will gain level and you will want to learn new skills, even though if it's a passive skill. That said, of course, they can add more actions in lower level, but if
on the AoE part, at least, maybe some redistribution of like abilities. I think the real issue is like I'm sitting there pushing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then in the new version it'll be like 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Please give us more abilities at lower levels. Like, it doesn't, if you've already learned the ability, let us retain it. It's not gonna, obviously, like, if you give like too many abilities, it's gonna like absolutely destroy the balance of the dungeon. I get that, but like there needs to be a better system for like dealing with this.
there's too much actions at lower level, then there will be too much to do and new players might not be able to cope. Also, if you learn everything at low level, then what will happen at higher level? Then what becomes the purpose of level up? They can't always just add in new skills and more skills. At the moment in Dawntrail, we will be going to level 100, and they don't want to start to make players feel that they need to do a level squish already right now to, for example, level 50. Yoshida-san hope that we understand how.
I don't know how they're going to get around not doing a level squish at some point if they keep increasing the level cap. If they don't increase the level cap anymore, what are they going to do? Are they going to make merits like in Final Fantasy XI? Are they going to make traits that you like earn, or like what's going on there? I'm curious about like what their plan is for this, because like maybe other people don't feel the same way as me, but I think leveling is like an essential part of an expansion that feels fun to do. I understand some people don't like grinding levels, but I guess I genuinely like the experience of like going through and like playing each of the jobs again a little bit and like picking them up. Like that's a big piece of content to me. And if they don't continue expanding the levels, that would suck to me.
Things has to be moved behind the scene to be the way it is at the moment, where they add actions to certain level. However, if anybody got a good idea, Square Enix and the Final Fantasy XIV team would love to hear from you. It is, however, their job at the end of the day, so they will be trying their best, but they would still love to hear from us. Question number 4, I'm not sure who asked this. If you could recommend any quest, job, side content, etc. to complete before Dawntrail, which would you recommend for players really who wants to get into Final Fantasy XIV?
Everything. Do everything. If you don't do everything, are you a real Final Fantasy XIV player? Yeah, Blue Mage too.
14 law. Zeno wasn't happy when he first saw this question on screen because it has nothing to do with Dawntrail. This Q&A was supposed to be question asked for Dawntrail and the development of Dawntrail, so Zeno wasn't very happy.
Dude, of course Zeno's not gonna be happy about this question, bro. Because it's like, doesn't Zeno like not give a shit about the story and just skips it? Like, I don't know. I'm just like, Zeno plays for like the gameplay, right? Like, I mean,
FP Pong. Yoshida answer to this question is that if you are really into Final Fantasy XIV lore, shouldn't you have already...
I want to say this is a valid, I feel like, question for people that like are lore or like story enthusiasts. I can understand how it turns people off, but like I do think it's a valid question, because I think there are times where like they do tie in stuff, like especially Shadowbringers, where Omega and Alexander were relevant.
Finish all the quests. He doesn't want to talk too much about this because he do not want to give away too much for people who haven't finished everything lore related. He also asked if people know about the 6.0 Alliance raid. You guys know the myth of Eorzea, and he thinks that there's a lot of interesting lore in there. He also asked if everybody knows the name of all the 14 seats of convocation. And obviously, as you can see, not everybody knows stuff like this. This is just a couple that he comes up with. So there's a lot that we do not know about. So just go do any of them, go do all of them. But he's not going to give anything more into this question because he wants to avoid spoilers. And
Okay. The answer, I'm going to put it this way. I felt like it was a valid question, but the answer is basically like a no-nothing. That sucks that ate up a question, because it, in the sense of like, it just was a non-answer.
Zeno is match. Question number 5. I also have no idea who asked this question. What are some of the inspirations of Dawntrail?
Oh god.
Yoshida-san said that the concept of Dawntrail is that it is about a summer vacation for our warrior.
Okay. I can understand being very bad at this one, because they literally have 3 fan fests to sit there and explain why they're making Dawntrail, what inspired them to make Dawntrail, what is the plot, like the general ideas of Dawntrail and why you're going to whatever place, and they have the lead up quest line. This feels like this is a media question that does not pay attention to Final Fantasy XIV, and it's literally just like, I don't really have a question. They've answered the shit so many fucking times. It is from this has to be from someone who does not pay attention to the game. I feel like Square Enix shouldn't have allowed this question.
Of Light. Endwalker is a finale.
Probably a journalist,
we went all the way to the Age of the Universe, and in 6.x we even went to the 13th, the Void. It reached to the point in Final Fantasy XIV that it seems like players are able to predict what the devs are thinking and doing. So in Dawntrail, it will be a brand new perspective. We will be exploring new areas, embark a new adventure. There will be many new diverse culture we may encounter, and we will see people with different values. It is kind of like a start from scratch.
He has literally said that all of this. I'm pretty confident. I don't understand. Like, please fucking listen to the other stuff and don't waste questions.
And therefore, it will feel like you will start from a vacation. With what's happening in our real world, with news that are sad and news like war and chaos going on, Yoshida-san wants Final Fantasy XIV to connect people who play around the world with different values and bring them together. He hopes to connect everybody, so Dawntrail team is about that. He also mentioned in the past FanFest that he also thinks that our Warrior of Light will not be satisfied with just a summer vacation. Therefore, in 7.0, there will actually be exciting development, battles, and content. However, he cannot say anything more.
I feel like they've already spoiled a lot of that, just to be fair, with even showing Solution 9 and showing what the fuck is the Eliminator or whatever it's called, right? Like, let's be real, that's already known. Why is it a secret at this point? God, it's crazy. Why the hell would we go from a beach themed place to all of a sudden a mecha, like, or like a technologically advanced area? There's got to be something. No, it's just there. It's there. It's part of the summer vacation. You don't understand.
So please play through 7.0 to find out. Question number 6. This is asked by Whoops. This is a very long one.
Oh, holy
and the answer
shit.
that Yoshi P gives is also very long. So just try to keep up with this as I go
my God,
into it.
holy shit. That's a huge
With the
question.
introduction of Viper, there are now 6 melee DPS. Within these 6 jobs, there are striking, scouting, and maiming left side gear, as well as slaying and aiming right side accessories. As you can imagine, this makes managing gear sets and material melts, specifically for skill speed, very headache. Are there any plans moving forward for either consolidation of this gear set and or material loadouts? Whoop's suggestion to fix this easily would be to have players melt material.
This is a super fucking good question. That is holy shit a good question. Like, I love this question. Because like I have an issue with like specifically Dragoon and Reaper. Because Reaper uses a slightly different like set of like materia versus Dragoon, and they have like this version of the materia that's like kind of like a conjoined one of like, oh, if you play both of them, and that fucking sucks. That absolutely sucks. I want to be able to have my specific Dragoon materia and then have my Reaper materia. This is I hope they do a material loadout at some point. Just get more gear. Yeah, the gear you can't have duplicates of. How much of a difference does it make? It doesn't matter. It feels bad. It's not so much of a matter of like, it's not a matter of does it matter that much. It's, oh, it feels bad that I know I'm purposely nuking myself because I want to play Dragoon and Reaper. So anytime something like that gives friction like that to me, making the decision of should I play Reaper or should I play Dragoon, like besides like meta reasons, I think it sucks that you have to make a decision of, oh, I have to prioritize Dragoon stats or I have to prioritize Reaper stats. It feels bad as at a player standpoint.
Onto their job stones or a skill tree instead of directly onto gear which is being shared across multiple jobs. So Yoshida-san gave a very long, otherwise maybe seemingly confusing answer at the beginning for sure. He said that this is a very difficult and complicated question to just give a...
Oh God, holy shit, I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, Monk and Sam have different materia, probably from Dragoon and Reaper on their accessories. Holy shit, I didn't even think about that. You're right. That's a good point. That makes it even worse because like you have 4 jobs competing for those stats. And think about like, what about like Ninja, Viper, Machinist, Bard, and Dancer? That's nasty as fuck. Yeah, that's not good. That's that's a ton of jobs. Healers too. No. I know. I'm just saying like this seems like a big issue on accessories more so, like, because there are jobs even across like striking, maiming, and all that, like being mixed up. Yeah, I definitely feel like per job you should almost have this now. This question totally makes sense.
Yes or no answer. He says that this can be done, but he's not sure that whether this is the right approach to do this.
Okay.
He feels that what is the most annoying problem at the moment is that as a director, what is the direction he wants to take this question into? How much simplicity should he allow in this game, and can the game systems he planned to implement support this concept of simplicity? He mentioned during his opening presentation on how he wanted to bring a more fulfilling gameplay throughout the 7.X series. So as part of a fulfilling game experience, he's looking for more robust content that players will feel challenged instead. Looking at more recent content that the Final Fantasy XIV team...
What does this have to do with anything he asked? What the fuck? Does this not get translated properly?
...has made, especially battle contents, they all seem too similar to one another. In the past, there are
Dude, that Reaper gear looks so fucking sick, by the way. Oh my god. It looks so fucking good.
a lot of new unique mechanics where players actually feel challenged. However, the team felt like they have been more conservative lately in battle design. The initial player feedbacks were that the game was too hard, so they went the conservative route instead. With that, the devs felt that they have reached a limit and couldn't do more unique mechanics because of that.
No, I don't like the helmet. The body's good.
A key point where players made lately
the rest of it
about how Target's hitbox was too big. This is where he felt that simplicity went too far, and
I'm so confused by this answer. This has nothing to do with materia. What the fuck? Bro. This is an insane tangent.
they overdone it. Moving forward, they are trying to shift focus on more robust gameplay. For example, in 8-man content, they want specifically the main tank and off tank to do way different mechanics from everybody else.
Yeah, it's too long.
They also want, for example, one or maybe a few DPS players to completely do a brand new unique mechanics on their own compared to others. Stuff like that are what they are trying to do, and new ways to make mechanics different from past expansions. Yoshida-san also said that he heard comments from Xeno and Arthur's about how a lot of the content and jobs lately currently feel kind of similar. Players wonder, why does this job have this and why my job doesn't have that, etc.
What the fuck is going on? What is this? Yeah, I feel like you triggered like a repressive thought like in Yoshida's mind that's like coming and emerging out. Like he's just like, it's spewing like everything out of his mind all at once. Where is this going?
They were mindful on what players want, and as a dev, they listened, but also needed to be careful to the feedback they received. Feedbacks are very important to them, but they felt that recently they overdid and listened too much to this feedback and made the game boring and kind of predictable. The devs would also love to go into job changes and make sure that they bring in uniqueness to every different job, but they feel that they don't have to do everything now at the same time because they are already planning to make gameplay changes as mentioned earlier. If they do everything at once, it might be too overwhelming to some players and they might feel that the game has become way harder than it should.
Okay, I'm just gonna put out there, making a materia customization change, I don't feel is hard, and I feel it's very straightforward. I feel this is a very customizable, friendly quality of life thing for players. I don't know how we got here, but here we are. Whoops, after that answer. Yeah!
Should be. Their current goal is to make 7.0 series more satisfying, example better content, and bringing in new and fresh perspective to players tackling this content. With all being said, how does everything he said apply to this question? The main point he's trying to make is that he's trying to go a different route in 7.0, so making everything streamlined and simple is actually what he doesn't want to do right now. So with this proposed system, it will make it more simplified to tune your gear to your job, but will this contribute to the more satisfying gameplay experience? They are very serious to bring adjustment from different jobs, but also very careful with the current decision they are making, which is to make content more robust and unique, rather than doing everything at once. That being said, the development teams feel that they implemented way too many different materials, and it's about time to look into this.
Oh, here we
and
go,
how
we're
they
back.
can improve the material system. This is a very good suggestion, and he will bring back to the team to see what they can do.
All right, we looped around after all of that. And he's like, good suggestion. Yeah. Here's my fucking TED talk that I just gave you on your question. That has nothing to do with your question, but good suggestion, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, guys, we need to like fill our question time today. Just besides saying, yeah, good suggestion, we just went on a fucking 30-minute tangent on random shit. Holy shit. That is insane. That is funny as hell and insane at the same time.
Question number 7. I also have no idea who asked this. How is Dawntrail shifting away from the single-player orientation brought about during Shadowbringers to encourage collaborative play among the Warriors of Light? Yoshida-san started...
I appreciate this because I hate how much I feel like there is solo isolated content. So I don't know who whoever asked this, like, this is a good one. I hate the amount of isolated content. It is one of the worst things about Endwalker.
By saying that Zebla said that in her video and in her stream that 6.0 was the worst expansion. Yoshi P said that he watched the stream and was in pain hearing that. He said that not to point out and shame Zebla, but just want to use this opportunity.
Caught in 4K live at the media tour.
To tell us streamers that they are watching and listening, and they do take our feedback very seriously. Also, it's not just Yoshi P watching the streams. Many Final Fantasy XIV devs also love to watch streams regardless of language, so perhaps we can try to show some mercy on what we say. A lot of them actually can comprehend what we say properly. He then clarified that they are not going to shift away from solo gameplay, and they planned on what they wanted to accomplish, and this was part of the plan. He asked us if we know why gamers in general hesitate to play MMORPG. The answer is because players do not want to play with one another. A lot of them feel pressure to even cooperate.
Why the fuck are you playing an MMO? Look. Alright. You came here for the story. I understand that Final Fantasy XIV is a story-based game. But it's an MMO. I'm happy that they made it so people can play with trust and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this is an MMO. They're making an MMO. They tout it as an MMO. You should make people forced to play with each other. And you should, and if they don't, they shouldn't get anywhere. I've always felt this way. You should be able to finish the story, but at the end of the day, if anything beyond that story, I don't think they should go any farther. I really don't. If it is a social game that you play on the internet with other people. If they want to play a single player Final Fantasy and they want to have end game content in single player Final Fantasy, go play Final Fantasy XVI, go play plenty of other Final Fantasies. I think it's completely fine to have it soloable for the MSQ, but at the extent of it beyond that, do not touch anything else. I do not think any piece of content should be isolated only solo unless it's like an option of difficulty, like Deep Dungeon.
With others. All of us content creators and the media present knows how much fun it is to play MMORPG with others. It is a lot of fun even when we play with others casually. However, not everyone feels that way, and he wants to change that hesitation of players not wanting to play with others. With Shadowbringer, they have the advantage of story being very good. So they wanted to use that to bring people into the game. They want to make them enjoy the story without being pressured of working and playing with the others. That's why they implemented more solo experiences to bring people into Final Fantasy XIV. With more people...
I think that's a good thing. Hold on. I think that's the good part of it, is it will bring in more players and hopefully let them like trickle in, and like hopefully they'll enjoy the multiplayer experience eventually. But I don't think the game should be designed around solo play. That's what I'm getting at mostly. It's an MMO. You should want to play with other people if you're playing the game. The game should want you to do that. I think that's where it's like comes down to like a frustrating point to me whenever I hear that.
Coming into the game, even if they are playing solo and casually initially, they now create a bigger pool of players in Eorzea. That's why they intentionally made Shadowbringer and Endwalker more solo focused to bring and create that pool of players.
That makes sense.
Now that they have the players coming in from Endwalker to build on their player base, they are finally ready in Dawntrail to introduce the more massive multiplayer gameplay aspect, so players are now ready to try group content and make Final Fantasy XIV a better and more fulfilling MMORPG. Like Zepla said in her broadcast and content, the game is going too much into solo in Shadowbringer and Endwalker. Yoshi P.
Do you guys feel like it did that in Shadowbringers? Because I didn't feel like it did that. I felt it was Endwalker specifically. I always felt like in Shadowbringers, like there was plenty of like content you did with other people. Like just going down the list, Boja, you had Ishgard Restoration, you had obviously Savage still, you still have raiding like in general with like Ultimate, like a T. Like I feel like the two big pieces like out of like that were like very communal based was like Boja and Ishgard Restoration, and that covers in a lot of ways like crafting and gathering and battle content. So I'm confused where the Shadowbringers content like argument comes in. It's the introduction of trust. I think that's where I'm like, I'm okay with the trust thing. I'm not the person objecting the trust. I think it's the Island Sanctuary in Endwalker and smaller man content when it comes to like Criterion that I'm struggling with in a lot of ways. And I just when you keep cutting down and making lower man content, like because you have Deep Dungeon too, right? So Deep Dungeon released at the same time. Some people do that solo, some people do that in a 4-man group, but it's like much smaller groups of people, and you then have an isolation large piece of content with Island Sanctuary. It's just like, to me, that's why Endwalker has that more isolationist feel when it comes to like extra stuff to do. And then they also like revised a bunch of stuff from like the MSQ. But I don't care about ARR being revised. I think ARR being revised is a necessity.
He also heard that from every other content creators, and he felt the same. And it is a good indication for them to finally conclude the solo player experience system in Endwalker and can finally move into Dawntrail with more multiplayer aspect gameplay. Lama Tao then also asked about improving stuffs like Hall of Novice so these players can step out of solo and transit better into their multiplayer experience. Yoshida-san says not necessary because people will find out that Final Fantasy XIV community is so kind to everyone else, right?
I think it's who you run into. I legitimately do. I don't know if that answer's like entirely like correct. It really depends on who you run into. You can get the bad batch or you could get the good batch. I think there's a lot of people, if you see the Sprout icon, that are trying to be more helpful, but there's also this like reserved nature to a lot of people that are like, I'm gonna get fucking banned if I suggest something to someone, or I'm gonna get like a GM report on me because I suggested someone, because people are like, you don't pay my sub, like that whole fucking meme, right? Like, but I think people try their best with Sprouts to help them out. I think it's better than WoW, but I don't know if it's much better.
If we see Sprouts, and if those Sprouts don't know mechanics, surely we content creators will help.
I want to be clear. I also don't think that it should be a case of like, this is just on the players to help with this. I think there is like a I think there's like there's a level to it that like you have to get someone willing to explore beyond just what's within the game in the first place to find answers. So like players that go out of their way to like look at the balance or look at like content creator videos or anything that's like related to like teaching someone the game, that is a player that is willing to learn or willing to invest time in improving. That's like the first step at minimum that's like happening that's well beyond probably your average player. Your average player is probably just going to do the MSQ and not give a shit and just play as the game teaches them. Those players I do think would benefit from something that's like in the game, giving them a little bit more of a, you know, wink wink nudge nudge, hey, play a little bit like more like this kind of, or like putting them in like situations that rely upon them to play a little better or learn something more than just like what's at face value of their job.
They're right. Getting people to start playing the game even if it's solo is more important because now they can transit into that. So Yoshi P asked us content creators to be nicer to the new players. For example, Zeno and me, as he looked right at us. Duty support does make you feel like playing solo, but it's also for practice run so that they can go out and play with others when they have knowledge of the dungeon. That is what he expected players to use those systems for, and that's why he didn't think he needed to implement more systems for these new players. Question number 8. This is
sorry to Makoto, to answer your question, you shouldn't have to. I think there's like you shouldn't have to, but seeking out information on like what other players do that is optimal is like the next step. A lot of times, like if you can figure it out yourself and you can play it correctly yourself and you don't need someone else, good on you. But not everyone can do that. And I think the game shouldn't necessarily be screaming at you, play this job exactly this way. It should be intuitive. So it's easier to come to that conclusion, but everyone will not always come to the same conclusion because people don't all think the same. However, I think it's important that like the game does a little bit of hand-holding. It's just not completely all the way there. I think it's like very hands-off right now, and it doesn't really give much to new players that have no idea, especially like brand new MMO players. But if someone wants to take it to like a, not even necessarily mastery level, but just more advanced level of like learning more, it's a step for them to have to do all of that. And I realize that's a hurdle to like get someone to even join a Discord, but like, it doesn't matter if it's a Discord, website, content creator, video, whatever. I think it's good that like information is out there that is like current and like what to aim for, because I do think it helps a lot of people. I think a lot of people would be a lot worse at the game if they didn't have that type of material to like go through.
This is asked by Zeno says the Baldo. In the future, are there plans to rehaul the item level sync system? Currently, the calculations are very convoluted and confusing for new players when syncing for various content, including high level rates, where the higher eye level gear may not actually be best in slot. For example, this is in part due to material stats not being included.
Oh, okay. So he's talking about like how the dungeon gear is like the best in slot for like ultimates, right? That's what he's getting at, I'm assuming. And like the current highest item level gear doesn't sync properly.
In syncing, Zeno's suggestion would be to include material stats in addition to the base stats, but also put a cap on them. Yoshida-san replied that this calculation is very, very hard and complex. They are aware that with item level getting higher and with material having more impact, it causes a lot of misalignment to their calculation. The eye level and level sync system is originally designed alone by one dev that also made the item level or level sync system in Final Fantasy XI, Mr. Gondai. Mr. Gondai made the system and formula all by himself. What a giga chat. So for FF14, they also got him to do this. He is also currently the battle director. Gondai is still in the Final Fantasy XIV team and is still a core dev member.
Maybe I'm wrong in this, but like shouldn't it just be like each item level like has a correlation of how much like the stat boosts like on secondary stats, and the same thing goes for like primary stats? So if you're capped at a particular item level, just cap the stat. If you're wearing like 10 item levels above, all the secondary stats cap that at whatever the lower secondary stats are of like that other item level equivalent. I feel like that's pretty simple in my mind. Not complicated.
When Gondai made the item level and level sync system in 14, it was during a Realm Reborn, just so to get it ready for a Realm Reborn launch. Now, knowing this is a potential problem, he will bring it back to Gondai to see if they can fine-tune and optimize the level and item level sync system. Thanks, Question number 9,
I get what they
which
want.
is the last
I think
question.
it's a good thing.
I'm not sure who asked this as well. In the producer live letter 81, you stated that the discussions for the next expansion 8.0 had already started. Is Dawntrail the start of a new saga that will be continued into future expansions, or is it intended to be a standalone story? Yoshida said that they haven't decided if
I think that's just a weird question to ask this early, but like, I don't know.
Dawntrail is going to be a long saga or not. When they made Heavensward, they didn't expect it to be a long saga that lasted until Endwalker. They were more focused on rebuilding FF14 at the start and just wanted to make sure that the game will be good and exist. It was one step at a time process, and they didn't think about how this will go up to 6.0. Therefore, if they say that
They had to have by at least Stormblood to have this in mind. There's no way, right? Without because like at Stormblood, they were planning for like Shadowbringers at that point, and I would have had to have imagined that like maybe at Heavensward, okay, whatever, but Stormblood minimum, I feel like they had to have had like some idea. Okay, we're gonna go to here, and then we need to go to here, and like to get this like along the way. Like obviously, they don't have all the gaps filled in, but I would have to imagine at least at Stormblood, because of how it transitions to the first and sets up the first, and then the first sets up for Endwalker. Like it's not just they're like kind of like half-assing it the whole way, right? There's no way they're doing that. I can understand from ARR to Heavensward though, specifically. They said they were writing the end of Shadowbringers that they actually weren't sure if the final days even were, so I wouldn't say they even know everything. Multiple expansion. Well, he at one point said they had like a general plan for like multiple expansions in advance. It was like it was like at the end of Heavensward or like Stormblood. I remember him saying this.
that to the higher ups during that time, that they will be going all the way to 6.0, the higher ups will be like, are you insane? At about end of 4.0 is when they started to think about Shadowbringer's story, and it can be bigger and continue into a finale. Throughout the Heidenly and Zodiac saga, they did a lot of foreshadowing and sprinkled them in order to continue to see if they can paint a bigger picture. They will continue to do the same foreshadowing from 7.0 onwards. 7.0 onwards will be a new chapter and a new adventure after all. Depend on our reaction, once we reach the end of 7.x, they will decide where to go from there, step at a time process just like before. There are stuffs in 7.0 that will be exciting, but secretive, and he cannot say more.
So, okay, most of what he's saying makes sense, but to Varsity's question or like statement earlier, that it feels like this question is from someone who asked it is like preparing to downplay Dawntrail. I don't take it that way. I think it's like setting up expectations, because you have to think of it this way. We came off of a huge saga of ARR all the way to Endwalker, and technically 1.0 all the way to Endwalker in the grand scheme of things. And there is a lot that is there, and you have a direct comparison of, is this like going to be like leading to or something? Like, should we be paying attention more in like how this is going to add up in story? Some people don't want to know that because they want to feel spoiler free. They want to feel like they just want to take it all in naturally as it comes to them. But some people want to, like I guess try and like formulate, oh, is this leading to something? Obviously, we don't even have the fucking expansion yet, so it's like difficult to even say this. So that kind of makes the question in a lot of ways irrelevant to me. Like, this is like a question you'd ask like post beating the MSQ of Dawntrail in a lot of ways to me. But like, I think it's fair to ask at that point more so than Media Tour.
We will have to play to find out ourselves. It will study our reaction, see what we may like, and see how this saga will go. We are getting a summer vacation this time round, so maybe in the future we will be having a winter vacation. Therefore, instead of thinking if this is one long saga or not, let's just enjoy what's ahead of us.
Please, I hope they never do only snow. I really hope they never do only snow. I think that's so boring. I'm fine with like 1 to 2 snow zones, but generally, like, I feel like if a game is like only in snow, it's so boring. It's just a white all over the place. I think most game devs wouldn't do that, but like at least it make an MMO. But like a really prime example would be like Northrend in World of Warcraft. It is not just all snow. There's a pretty like diverse climate, but it's like kind of tundra-y. It kind of has like it has like obviously like the jungle area there, and there's like the really mountainous areas and all that kind of stuff. Like it's there's variance there, right? But if you only had snow, holy shit, it would be boring. All Boja, please no, Saris, please no.
Of us in 7.0 first. And that's it for the Q&A session. The Q&A session was about an hour long, and Yoshida-san himself wished he could answer more questions. I tried my best to translate it and summarize some points to make it digestible, but can only do so much because Yoshida-san himself really spent a lot of time and thought answering every question.
On that whoops question.
So it might be a little bit lengthy,
shit.
so please forgive me. I'm just posting the questions and answer in this video, and we will not be doing any thoughts on the question or answers. I will most likely do them on my stream though. I'm also sure that there is a day 2 Q&A somewhere out there.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that right now. All right, that was good. I appreciate that video from Arthas. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Arthas. And here's the link to the video. Chat.